Greetings to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, from Dr. Batham Pharma Consultants, Dr. Ashok Kumar Batham. This video is a part of medical education program being extended by Dr. Batham Pharma Consultants. And today's topic for our presentation is antihistamines. The antihistamine drugs are widely used all over the world, and today there are more than 40 antihistamines available today for prescription by doctors and other prescribers. The objective of this presentation is to apprise you on the various agents that are used as antihistamines for the treatment of various disorders. As a matter of fact, ever since histamine has been identified as a tissue hormone, as its name suggests, the term histamine comes from joining two words, histose. Histose means tissues, and amine means a nitrogen containing compound. So the histamine word is derived from histose and amine, thereby making it histamine. Histamine has been found in almost every tissue in the body, including the brain and other parts of the central nervous system, where it serves the function of an important neurotransmitter responsible for maintaining a state of arousal or wakefulness, sleep-wakefulness cycle, water and electrolyte balance in the body, and also appetite and hunger, besides various other physiological activities in which this particular neurotransmitter participates while working as a neurotransmitter within the central nervous system. Outside the central nervous system, histamine serves two main purposes. Number one, histamine works as a mediator of allergic inflammation. Wherever an allergic reaction occurs, predominantly histamine is said to be responsible for causing the manifestations of allergy. Say, for example, in cases of allergic rhinitis, which could be seasonal or perennial, there is intense vasodilatation in the nasal mucous membrane and oozing of the plasma, or what we call transudation. So this transudation associated with vasodilatation leads to nasal mucosal edema, which narrows down the nasal passage, making it difficult for the person to breathe in. Besides this, there is an excessive secretion from the nose, which further complicates the whole scenario, making it further difficult for the patient to breathe in comfortably because of the collection of nasal secretions in the nose. So that is which happens, and the whole thing doesn't end here. The obstruction in the nasal pathway, or the nasal passage to be more precise, is associated with itching in the nose and frequent attacks of sneezing, which makes it difficult for the victim to lead his normal life, and therefore he runs for some medication for some relief after making medical consultation, if that is possible. So this is the picture of allergic rhinitis, both seasonal as well as perennial, which occurs because of the exposure of the person and his hypersensitivity to certain allergens or certain substances to which he is or she is hypersensitive. So this type of an hypersensitivity could be to certain particles of pollen prevailing in the atmosphere. It could be because of certain dust, certain mild dust, or the dust from the carpet in the air-conditioned room, or even otherwise in ordinary rooms. So the room dust or the carpet dust, which contains mostly the products of animal origin, like what we call animal dander, the feather, the excreta, and other things from the animals like insects, cockroaches, etc. They are mostly responsible for this type of an allergic phenomena. There may be other types of inhalants that may be responsible for allergic rhinitis, like there may be certain cosmetics or talcum powder, and certain medications can also lead to this type of an allergic response. Likewise, allergic conjunctivitis is also characterized by redness of the conjunctiva, itching in the eyes, redness of the eyes because of the, as I mentioned just now, the congestion of the conjunctiva leads to red eyes. There is excessive tear formation or watering of the eyes, what we call lacrimation. Excessive lacrimation associated with itching sensation in the eyes are the characteristic symptoms of allergic conjunctivitis. So you have seen what happens in allergic rhinitis and allergic conjunctivitis, and all these changes are brought about in the nose as well as in the eyes because of three main effects. The histamine that is released in response to the antigen antibody reaction in these in the mucous membranes of the eyes and nose. And these changes are basically vasodilatation, increased capillary permeability, excessive secretion, and mucosal edema. Associated with a sensation of itching, and in case of nose, itching and sneezing. In case of eyes, only itching is the message just now. So by this time, I'm very sure that you have been able to understand what happens in allergic conjunctivitis and allergic rhinitis. Classically, you must have noted that when an insect bites you, four things happen. Number one, at the point of the bite, the sting, you have a small, very, very small red dot of the size of a pinhead, and this red dot is elevated. There is swelling. So what we call it, there is a red dot and there is an erythema. There is a swelling at the site of the bite, and this is associated with the spreading redness from the red spots. So what we have is an erythema, an erythematous dot which flares towards the periphery, and this area is raised or elevated because of the losing of the fluid component of blood in the interstitial or intracellular space, and therefore this appears elevated or swollen. So what we have is a red spot, there is a flare, and there is a VL. This is all elevated, and these things are associated with a sense of intense itching and burning. All these things are caused by the release of histamine in response to the insect bite. The same thing happens in cases of urticaria, which is an allergic rash, and there may be very small tiny spots, a few or many times all over the body, that are skin areas that becomes red and elevated. So there is a flare, there is a wheal, there is a redness. So the same thing happens in cases of urticaria. You must have seen. Urticarial responses many times occur in response to exposure to various allergens. And similarly, in dermatology, in skin diseases, if you look at, people have a very prominent symptom called pruritus or itching. Itching could be associated with atopic dermatitis. Itching could be associated with contact dermatitis, or it can be associated with, as I mentioned just now, exposure to the poisonous insects or which cause insect bites. And not only that,